All right, so first of all, let's get like an introduction to who you are, what's your name, and what do you do?
Of course. So, hello everyone. My name is Alberto De Lago. I'm currently a student, co-founder, and business owner. Uh, I study in Vancouver currently, UBC. It's a pretty big school, the biggest in Western Canada, actually. Vancouver's an interesting place, basically like LA, but in Canada, expensive, but it's super interesting. I would not trade it for anything. The company which I founded and which I'm running alongside my co-founder, Diogo Silva, is called Clubline. We specialize in the nightlife industry, basically creating a SaaS and bringing the demand economy to all aspects of nightlife, both for clubs and our clients. That's basically what I'm dedicated on. I'm originally from Mexico, but I moved out of the country when I was 15. Currently, I'm 23, and I've been out for 8 years now, living by myself. It's been quite the experience. So yeah, that's who I am.
So tell me a little more about Clubline. Like, how did you get the idea or the start?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So funny enough, 1 year ago, I noticed that there's this Instagram account which is posting how long lines are in Vancouver for clubs. I said, yeah, it's working, but it's a non-profit organization. It's really not that good. The quality of the videos rely on their community to send them in. They don't record any videos personally. They just do it themselves. So I started thinking about how we could improve these processes. So 1 year ago, like I mentioned, I started developing an app, and I came up with the first idea of Clubline, which originally it was only gonna be line wait time estimates for lines at clubs and just telling lives at clubs, like general information, right? That's how it all started. I created a quick mock-up, but after that, I didn't really work on it because I was focusing on other things at the time. Uh, then I joined this class at UBC, where he literally made us start a business from scratch based on our learnings. It allowed me to develop the business even further, but not to the point where I was ready to release it. Right, not even close. I left it in standstill even after that. And it was not until this year, January, where my co-founder Diogo approached me and said, "Okay, man, I have computer science expertise. Let's just get our heads down and start developing the app from zero." From that point forward, we started developing the app. The B2C solution is what started all, right? Just showing people all the events happening nearby, because that's what another issue which we found. Like, if you want to go out on a day, on a random night, you really have to scroll through every single Instagram page of every single club in order to be able to find every event happening near you, which is really inconvenient. There's no real solution to this. So we started by doing this, right? Designing the B2C application. Once we had that going and we started like all the mock-ups, everything, we noticed that there was a huge fundamental error in how clubs handle their businesses. As when we started talking with promotion agencies as well as clubs, we noticed that they use software which is meant to be for hotel services, right? Like they don't use a software which is specifically made for the nightlife industry. We started exploring this further and started deciding like what should we do, like we can fill this gap in the market. We started brainstorming. We came up with this idea for a portal, right? A portal which encompasses everything. So let's say a club wants to know how many guest lists, how many people are coming tonight, how many tickets have been sold. They really cannot do it in an easy way because they sell their tickets in one place and they are able to check it on that place. But in order for them to incorporate into the database, they need to extract all that data, put it into Excel, and analyze it. Our portal connects directly to the B2C application we have, which I mentioned, and the clubs know how many guest lists have been given out, how many tickets have been sold. They also can check how many people have come into the club in order to be able to notice what the conversion rate for the actual like ticket sales and people coming is. Uh, in the future, we are also expanding to allow drink ordering for our customers. Essentially, we are allowing them to order any type of drink they want through the app. We're gonna gamify that experience as well. Basically, it's a UI which has a cup in the middle, and the user can choose which shots, which chasers they want in their drink. And as soon as they press it, a little liquid is added to the drink, and the price is shown to them. So this way, they can actually visualize the drink they're ordering without having to rely on menus, which can be confusing, especially if you're drunk, especially if it's at night, you cannot see anything. So this way, you order directly through the app. The app tells you, okay, approach the bar in 5 minutes, show this QR code, and we'll give you the drink. So that's another feature we're implementing right now. It's nearly ready to be rolled out. But all of this is going to be integrated into this centralized portal. Essentially, bring everything the club does into a central place, which needs no Wi-Fi to operate and is able to be done in a whim, right? So that's the main thing. The two main applications, again, are B2B and B2C, just encompassing the whole consumer journey from looking for an event nearby all the way to drink ordering at the club or requesting music for the DJ. As of right now, we have released the app. I believe it came out 2 days ago, so that's good. But before then, we were relying on our website. Yeah, we were relying on our website. People, thank you. People to add their guest lists, right? Which is something which could not be done before. If you want to skip the line at a club, you had to call your friend, which was connected to the club, and then be able to get into the club. But through our service, you don't have to contact anyone. It's directly on our website or our app, where you put your name, the club you want to go to, what time you're going to go to, and that's all, right? Like, that's all you have to do. And we take out the promoter out of the whole equation. But still, they will get compensated because we are working alongside them to promote Clubline, our app, directly instead of the club, which makes it way easier for them, because that way they're not just promoting one club, rather all the clubs in the city or all the clubs we work with, which is a lot, basically. So yeah, that's basically what we do. Yeah.
Interesting. So essentially, the customer would be now an app really easy to use and navigate through. That's essentially your goal with this.
Correct. It's the best way to describe it is, again, bring the demand economy to the nightlife goers. Think about Uber, how revolutionized the transportation industry.
Yeah.
Before that, you had to call a taxi, you had to interact with a human. With this, you want to go to a club? Okay, you don't have to interact with anyone. You go into our app, you check how long the line is at the club, you check what the vibes are at the club, you check the gender ratio at the club, and you're able to add yourself to a guest list automatically. Once you're at the club, you can interact with anyone, right? You can order your drink from the phone. You can request songs from the DJ directly through the app.
Okay. And with the development of this software and all the apps, etc., like how did you approach collaboration and partnerships? Essentially, like either with coworkers or with also maybe clubs or other people, other actors. Like how does that work with you? Like how do you approach this?
So funny enough, this gonna sound really, really tacky, but before I started everything in January, or rather September, I didn't really know. I understood how important this was. This was a cornerstone to our business. I understood it was not gonna be an easy task because nightlife industry in itself is such a shit show. You know what I mean? They don't really care about any partnerships. They can stab you in the back anytime they want because they don't owe anything to you, and that's just the nature of nightlife. So back then, I really didn't know how I was going to be able to approach these clubs, how I was going to be able to partner up. Thankfully, I think, and I hope the audience can be convinced of that, is that in September, I came back to Vancouver because during the summer I was in Mexico. I came back to Vancouver and moved into my current house, and I moved in with 3 other roommates, one of which is my co-founder and 2 of which I didn't really know back then, but I had interacted once or twice with before. And curiously enough, back in September, it was rush season for fraternities in Canada. Okay, so all my roommates, all 3 of them, are part of this fraternity called Kappa Sigma. And they were trying to convince me, yeah, you should join. And I was like, I don't know. I always had this misconception of fraternities. I really don't want to be part of this and stuff like this. And they said, okay, fair. Just come for our first rush event and see how you feel. And based on that, you can move forward or not. So I come to this first rush event. It's basically just a little get-together, sober, of course, just getting to know the boys in the frats and getting to know all the people that want to join the frats. That's essentially it. And they give us a quick tour of the house. They show us like what each member of the fraternity does. And I start noticing how well connected all the members in the fraternity are in the nightlife industry. So I start asking around. We start looking around. At the end of the day, I decide, okay, I love the people here. They're super chill. Might as well just try it. Right, so I pledge this fraternity, right? I pledge, I go through all the pledging process for around 2 months, and then at the end of the day, I end up being an active member of the Kappa Sigma fraternity. After being this Kappa Sigma member, I got access to a lot of people which really, really helped me out. I don't want to drop any names just in case they don't want to be mentioned, but they really did help us out, especially because they own a bunch of promotion agencies. So directly through them, we were able to get on the door for 5 clubs. And after that, people started DJing, people started getting into DJing for clubs, promoting for clubs. Thanks to this, we were able to connect directly to clubs. So I would say every single club we're connected with right now, we owe to the Kappa Sigma fraternity at the end of the day, which is incredible, because it's just networking. As we've talked before, I'm sure we've talked about it before. Most of the value I'm getting from university is networking. A business degree, which is what I'm studying currently, is interesting. Yes, it gives you something to do, but at the end of the day, I don't see the primary value of university being in that, but rather in networking, which I was able to do all throughout my 4 years at UBC.
I can see that's interesting take. Yeah.
hmm
And for collaboration within like the job, like say, let's say you have a team for development, etc. How do you manage talking with people? Do you have meetings? Like, how's your experience with that?
So okay. So let me tell you, just stemming like just deviating away from that question a little bit. I just want to talk a bit about how you can actually approach people. How you can actually put yourself out there. Everything. Uh, I started in England for a while. I'm back in England. I was an introvert. I really didn't like. I enjoyed socializing. My social battery was really not that long, right? It was not until I joined this fraternity, until I put this myself in this uncomfortable situation, even moving to the house with these boys, which I don't even know, that I actually tested myself. Especially in September when I moved in, all these people, all these boys are super well connected. They have a shit ton of friends, and I had to meet around 250 people in 2 months. Had to remember their names. Had to be able to be in that social scenario every single night, because every single night someone would come over to our house, socialize, just chill for a bit. So I had to put myself in this uncomfortable situation to be able to actually get to understand how to approach people, how to talk to people, how to network with people, and make those meaningful connections, which are so important in the business world, especially. Now, going back to your question, how do we actually collaborate? Well, as of right now, we have a total of 3 employees. We have a social media marketing manager. We have another developer apart from my co-founder, Diogo. We have another social media manager, if you want to call it that way. They focus more on creating content for the brand. But how we manage all these collaborations and being on top of everything, being organized with everything. Basically, what we employ is Notion. We also employ messages, group chats. So for Notion, it's basically a hub for everything and anything you need to know about the business. We have all the legal documents there. We have all the promo material there. We have everything you may need there. All the meetings which are upcoming are in a calendar in Notion, so everyone has access to them and everyone can be reminded of them at the same time. All the to-do lists which we have to do for each specific section of the business is also outlined there with what each person has to do with for each to-do item. So that actually really helps us get organized. Now for meetings, we've been trying to use Zoom, but honestly, 30-minute limit is not that good. So we primarily just text. We don't see too much value in actually sitting down and having a meeting, because most of the time meetings just extend far beyond what you need to actually be talking about. A 10-minute meeting can go for 40 minutes and we could talk about nothing, which is really not that good for meeting. That's what I've noticed. But yeah, we've been trying to make them more seamless, more approachable for our client base, which are clubs when we meet with them, and our own employees. But it's hard still. So we mainly communicate through messages. It's pretty good, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And thanks to Notion, both of them come together to be able to have a more complete image of the business and allows us to not have those face-to-face meetings, which we do, So yeah, that's how we manage all that organization. Yeah, Notion has been our way to go. That's the main thing we use.
You were mentioning just before, like advertising, etc. Like, how do you approach marketing, especially nowadays with all the social media going on? Do you think that the marketing approach would have been different if it was maybe 10 or 5 years in the past, or like how? What do you think about this?
For sure, for sure. So in terms of marketing for Clubline, it all started with me doing all the marketing, right? I was a CEO. I had experience in Photoshop, not that much experience, right? But I had enough experience to be able to create some ads, to be able to publish on Instagram. And yes, they were getting engagement. Yes, they were getting likes, but not as many as we would have liked. That's why we onboarded Yala. our social media guru, you're gonna call it that way. He has been managing social media releases and everything this for big companies, for her own organizations, for everything. And she's been managing all up to this point. How we've approached it, it's basically more about engaging with our community, with our clients in terms of clubs, in terms of DJs, basically following them, liking all the posts, contacting them, making those connections which are meaningful. And in terms of the content which we put out, we're mainly focusing on types of guerrilla marketing and just normal marketing in general most of the time. But we also recently, one of the ad campaigns which I really liked, it was a launch party which happened here in Mexico for Clubline. Basically, got a bunch of people, got 3 DJs, put them all in a rooftop kind of bar, and we just took pictures, right? Just took pictures of the party, people having fun, just naturally, right? And that's what people want to see at the end of the day. If you force the fun on them, obviously they're not gonna be genuine, and people are not gonna believe the whole scenario which is happening, right? But by doing this, our engagement went sky high, right? Our likes to share ratio is literally 1-to-1 at the moment, which is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so good, and I'm really really happy with the work Yala's doing. She edits pictures amazing. She edits all the actual like made material, which are not pictures, like computer generated material, really well. And all the captions, everything that she uses are really concise, and it really does get people engaged with the content. That's mainly what we're doing. But as I said, we want to strive to be more of a guerrilla marketing approach to the whole thing, which which we're gonna achieve hopefully in the coming weeks. We just manufactured our first round of merch, which we will be giving out in physical locations across UBC, which is the university I attend, and our main demographic at the moment. That's the main thing we want to focus on, more physical marketing, which involves guerrilla techniques to be able to approach customers more seamless and more out of the box, right? That's the main thing we're going to focus on right now.
Okay, interesting. Quick question in between, but out of
Tell me.
curiosity, did you consider working with AI, or did you implement AI to your workflow?
Yes, funny enough, we have implemented it, not to our workflow, but to our B2C. Actually, to our workflow, I would say to a certain degree. So let me explain. As we both know, as we sure all of us know, AI has taken the world by storm since the conception of not OpenAI, but rather ChatGPT, which is a product of OpenAI. I'm sure you're aware of this, which is insane, right? Back in last year, I worked for it's a research analyst for a macroeconomic research company. Super interesting. We would literally get all the information we would need to present to our clients. Basically, it would tell us, okay, like what's happening in Russia right now, for example. So we'd say, okay, let's schedule for a call in 3 days. We'll give you all the information you need. We'll get an expert on the subject on the call as well. And we're going to be able to present all this information in a concise way, which we can make use of. So that's what we've been focusing. That's what we focused on back in summer. And why I'm bringing this up is basically back then, to be able to hold email some of these experts, some of these clients, we will use a tool called copyright.ai, which back then I thought was the pinnacle of AI engineering. Basically, think about ChatGPT, but in a more dumbed down way, right? You would tell, okay, I need an email, this person, which outlines this things, right? You need to guide it step by step. And it was marvelous, it was incredible. That was the first time I was actually exposed to these natural language AI models, which are insane. And it wasn't all until ChatGPT, came out, where I actually understood what the potential of this whole technology could be. And we started using it in our business to start with as a solution for outreaching, right? Yeah, just knows people which we don't know. And that makes it way more easier, way more faster. We don't need to check grammar, all of this. It's really, really good, really seamless. After this, we started implementing AI in our own B2C application, right? The Clubline application, basically, the two main applications of AI which we use are basically showing people a feed based on their location, based on their preferences, based on everything of the event happening nearby. As you attend more events and all this, it gets more, it trains more, right? It has more data to work with, and that way it can give better recommendations, better everything. Now, we have developed an AI model which expands from this. Basically, think about this as we use the ChatGPT API, right? ChatGPT 3 and 4 coming soon, thankfully. We use this chatbot, which basically says, okay, I'm a man, I'm 27 years old, I live near this area, I like this type of music, recommend an event to me. So basically, by putting these queries in and using our database, which is connected to the API, they're able to see, the AI is able to recommend events which are most suitable to the user without having to rely on our own proprietary algorithm, which recommend events to them, right? So you can, in an instant, say what event is best for you, right? That's how we've been implementing it. In terms of other AI applications, not that much, but more automation, which is another branch. It's not AI, it's kind of AI. It's kind of a substitute product to AI, basically just automating things. Say, for example, someone inputs their name in our guest list. We use this app called Zapier to be able to extract all their information automatically as soon as they send the guest list. Extract all the information, put it in the format which our clients need, aka the clubs. Just name, last name, number of people, time. And that way we can send all this information to them at 7 p.m. every single day and give them just a rundown of everything we have without having to touch any data or any, right? It's all automated, which is incredible. It just works, right? We don't have to touch it.
Yeah, sounds incredible, man.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? What's for Clubline then? Or maybe in general, if you want to ask more generally speaking, but how would you define success within this realm?
I think success is a metric. It's really personal to oneself, right? For example, for me, success, if you had asked me 1 week ago, it would be releasing this app because it's been a pain in the ass. You have no idea. Like literally, this app was finished back in March, but the Apple Store has been insane. Like we cannot publish because the Apple Store has this requirement or this other requirement. And it was so tough. So just having the app out, I think that's a success which has been the most recent like milestone of ours. Now, if you're talking about long-term success, I would say expanding outside of Vancouver into other places of Canada would be that long-term success. And even more long-term success, it would be expanding to the US, Mexico, and Europe, which is already happening right now. But I believe like once we achieve that, I'm pretty sure we can be comfortable, know that the company is successful, and we can move forward. Right now, that's that metric of success. For you to be able to achieve what you want, there's these extrinsic metrics of success, right? Expanding, getting the app out. But there's also those intrinsic motivators which help you like know you have achieved that success personally. For that, for me, that would be literally just knowing like people like the app, you know, at that point, like I'm motivated to continue forward when people give me that good feedback, show me that interest in downloading the app, show me that interest in hearing what the app can do. So personally, that's what I see as success and what motivates me to carry on. Obviously, that changes from person to person. For Diogo, I would assume it's something along the lines of developing this new feature for the app, being able to code this really complicated thing in with just a one-person team, you know. It just depends from person to person, and it's really important to have those measures of success in place to be able to keep motivating yourself, keep motivating your team, and keep the app running. That's the main things.
Perfect. Answering my follow-up question, that was how do you stay motivated and focused, on your goals, especially during challenging times?
Yeah,
Need to keep a track of.
of course, and like I mentioned, progress extremely big motivator. It's also that idea that okay, like obviously there's a high risk, high reward scenario because the app may fail tomorrow, right? Someone may come to the market and take us out like this. That's why it's important to stay focused, stay on top of rising topics, trending topics, right? It's super important, especially in tech. Super important to be able to have that and understand how your market operates in order to be able to not be caught off guard. Right? Because one mistake and it's over. You need to be on top of your things and you need to be on top of trends, on top of your business, on top of anything which your competitors are doing. That's the main thing, right? You need to stay focused, keep your head down, know that you're working towards something, even though it may seem during the first couple of months you're not really generating any profits, putting any products out. It's important to understand this a lengthy process, which is most likely going to take more time than you previously estimated, right? Be able to understand like what you need to do to achieve there, to get there, and have that I would say just discipline to be able to understand how to separate emotions from like actually continuing forward, because that's a lot of a lot of people fall into that pitfall outside of entrepreneurship, outside of everything. I would say I've worked in financial markets before, but a lot of people lack that discipline to be able to say, okay, I need to be doing this right now instead of lying on bed. Or just in financial markets, for example, like I need to pull out now, like, okay, profits could be 100 times that what they are right now, but I set myself this boundary, this stop loss or stop profit at this point in the financial market, and just pull out at that point. You need to separate emotion from that mental process which you're doing, and understanding when is the right time to do a certain thing or the right time to actually like put yourself out there. I would say that's a yeah, I would say so. I would say so. Just discipline.
On the topic of like challenges, what would you say was one of like the biggest mistake or that ended up to being a challenge in your career, and like what did you take from it? What did you learn?
I have a lot of those, but I would say the most recent one, like I mentioned, I sound like a blabberbox right now, but I would say releasing the app, right? Like we were about to release it in March. We literally the day off we had announced it. We said, okay, we're gonna release it. Thank God we didn't have that big of a following on Instagram back then, but we set ourselves this deadline which we couldn't get, right? And we had to make that difficult call of saying, okay, are we gonna put out a product which is literally half-assed, not even the app store, or should we approach other methods of giving these abilities of the users to add themselves to the guest list in a more seamless way? So we decided, okay, we're not going to push out the app right now. It was a really difficult decision at the time. But instead, we found a solution where we create a website. We coded the whole website in one night. We just stayed up the whole night. We just coded it all. And we allowed users to add themselves to their guest list. I have a quick demo of the app directly to the website. It proved to be the right decision, because think about it now, if we had not had the following which we have now, back then, if we had the app, the prototype which we had back then up in the app store, we would have created a horrible image for the business from the get-go, right? We would not have literally all the features which we have right now, which are incredible. We redesigned the app completely. It gave us that leeway to actually like act upon it. So I would say, like, even when there's difficult decisions, just approach the problem in a long-term focus. If you think about the short-term gains, you're going to miss out on long-term gains, which most of the time are way bigger than anything which you can achieve in the short term. I would say that was one of my biggest challenges which we had. Another big challenge which happened, actually the big challenge that happened recently, is the fact that Diogo, my co-founder, as I mentioned, had to go back home for a while around 2 months ago. So we had to work around the clock, around different time zones, everything, which was super difficult. And because he was not there, having meetings in person was not possible. So we just had to have them from Zoom at really odd times of the day, which was super difficult. Thank God he's back. But again, we had to make that tough decision of, okay, Dio has to leave home because he cannot stay there. Like, he has to come back to Vancouver and actually have hands-on experience with our users, with our marketing department, everything, right? So we had to make that tough decision of, okay, let's bring Diogo back. We have to have him here. And now, thankfully, he's back home. I've not seen him, but he's back home now, and he's been completely focused on the app now. He's 24/7 focused on the app, and it's going great for the business now. That's how we approach that problem. And it's a tough decision. Obviously, you have priorities in life, and family should be on top of it. At the same time, you also have to build your own future, and you have to know when to make those sacrifices and have that balance in life at the same time. That's the main thing. Additional to that, it was super hard because I was traveling to LA nearly every single weekend, which made it hard to be able to be on top of everything which was happening to the business. Diogo was a superstar back then because he was back home. If he was not back home, back in Spain, he was not back in Spain. He was back in Vancouver, back at our house. He was handling everything. He was such a superstar during that period. So it's just that matter of also taking at work, which maybe it's not yours, but you also understand that it's essential to be doing it in order to achieve that long-term success, which we have both carried the log in that scenario. Whenever someone is doing something which is super important, we are able to have that let go of our ego and say, okay, it may not be my work, but I'm gonna take it up, because it's necessary for the business. You cannot keep that ego in place if you want the business to succeed. You need to be open-minded.
What would you, if you had to pinpoint 3 qualities that would be important if someone wanted to be an entrepreneur, like start,
Yeah,
their own business in today's market? What would be three things you would pinpoint?
for sure. I would say the biggest by far is being able to take that risk, right? Because if you're not able to take that risk, if you're not able to say, okay, I'm going to work on this without generating any profits whatsoever for however much time it needs to not generate profits for, you're not going to achieve success in that business. Because again, you're going to focus on those short-term gains over those long-term gains and just fuck over the business in that scenario, right? So that I would say that's the biggest one. Another one I can definitely think about is open-mindedness. This is one of the biggest pitfalls which entrepreneurs fall into a lot of the time. It's just the fact that they're not able to refocus their idea. Basically, think about it this way. Most of the time, your first idea is not going to be what the product comes out to be. And that just came true with Clubline at the same time. People just get married with their ideas. Their ego gets in the way. They say, okay, I generated this idea. I need to actually accomplish this vision which I had at the start. And they're not able to actually look at other gaps which their market may have, or just the lack of that gap which your market has. People may want to release a clothing company, but they don't realize the clothing industry is completely saturated, right? And they just go for it. They lose that shit ton of money because they don't realize, okay, this is maybe not the market which I may need to attack right now. So it's just that open-mindedness, that ability to refocus your original idea and not have that ego stand in the way, right? And I would say the last one, have a little bit of stubbornness at the same time. You know what I mean? If you're just taking every single piece of criticism which is coming your way as constructive criticism, then your product is going to become something which you don't want your product to be. Even like some people may approach me and tell me some piece of criticism, which it's not really constructive criticism. It's just criticism which has no value to it. And if I had just taken it all in and implemented it into my company, then obviously it would not have worked to the point where it has worked before. If I had heard all the people tell me like it won't work, it won't work, it won't work, it would not be to that point, to this point, right? So have that stubbornness to be able to set your foot down and say, okay, like all these people are telling me it's not going to work, but I'm going to stand by these ideals which are true based on my research, based on what other people are saying, based on what my clients are telling me, and work through it. That's the three main ones I would say are the most important ones as an entrepreneur.
Can I ask you a question? I see that you're very young, fairly young, 23.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
do you think that this has affected your image or the way you carry yourself? Do you have to carry yourself differently when working with maybe older people that been in the business for way longer, maybe like club owners or other agencies? Like how did your age affect this, if it did at all?
For sure. I can tell you definitely. It definitely has affected me. It has definitely affected me. And before now, I would not really. I would say 2 years ago, I would not really put too much value on the image I portray. And it was not even before Clubline, I started noticing getting in the business world, everything. In order to be taken seriously, you need to portray yourself as someone who's serious, right? Someone who's confident in what they believe in, someone who's literally confident in their ideals, someone who stands by those ideals and carries himself as someone who has value, right? Because if you don't love yourself, if you don't love who you are, then who can love you, right? That's the main thing. It applies for relationships as well. It applies for the business world. It applies for everything in life. So I would say that was a big transformation I had to do. And I know a lot of other entrepreneurs. For example, we have a photographer friend, which is pretty young. I don't want to disclose his age because he doesn't like disclosing his age, but he's super young. He works in the nightlife industry as well. And again, like he just has to portray this image of confidence, of maturity, everything to be able to achieve the goals he wants. Because the nightlife industry is cutthroat. I'm telling you, super difficult. People can stab you in the back. So you need to stand your ground, stay confident, and be the strong person which you are, right? That's the main thing. And when it comes to Clubline and even life in general, I'm telling you, like, I had to carry myself as a different individual, have different like views on how I present myself, right? That's the main thing. Now, most of the time, I like wearing formal attire to a place I go, which I truly enjoy because I know a lot of people are not doing it. And just those little things, people notice them, right? People do notice them, even though some people may say, who's gonna care about the fact that I'm wearing a t-shirt or a shirt, right? But they do notice them, and it's extremely important. You need to focus on those little details, have taken care of your hair, taking care of how you present yourself, your teeth, everything, it's the little things which you need to take care of in order to be able to present yourself as an individual, which people want to buy from, right? People are not going to buy from someone which, is not looking the part to the business which they are partaking on. I would say it's extremely important to understand the industry you operate on. Obviously, for example, you work on the tech industry, you're not going to wear a suit to work every single time, right? Because that's not how the industry works. You need to see those industry trends, see how people present themselves in your industry, based on that, how you're going to present yourself to be a viable player in said industry, right? So that's the main thing. Understand your industry, understand how people present themselves, like successful people obviously present themselves in that industry, and follow along, right, to be able to achieve that success at some point.
Okay. Thank you for this very insightful answer. Last question.
Tell me.
If you were to give an advice to yourself 5 years ago and yourself in 5 years, what would those advices be?
So I would say 5 years ago, definitely start a business, anything which you have in mind, just start it. Might as well, you have nothing to lose. You have that safety net, which happens to be living with your parents, right? You don't have to worry about nearly anything. Don't have to worry about living alone. You don't have to worry about cooking your own things. You don't have to worry about any other responsibilities in reality, right? So if you're 18, 17 right now, super easy to start a business. Just put yourself to it. Like the business I'm attacking right now, it's just a simple concept, right? Like just look for gaps in the market, everyday life, keep your eyes out. You're destined to find something, right? Obviously, there's going to be that element of luck coming when you start a business, that element of luck, of success, everything. But the beauty of it is that it's educated luck, right? If you're able to sway the probabilities your way, that's just the way to do it, right? Because if you're able to swift your luck, you're able to increase your chances of being successful in whatever industry you're approaching, right? So it's not like going to a casino. Starting a business is not like going to a casino, right? If you're able to have that educated approach to how you control your business, how do you see the gaps which exist in your industry, then most times than not, you're gonna achieve success to a certain degree. That may not be monetary, or that may not be in the business, but at the end of the day, it could just be learning more about yourself, or learning more about how to handle a business like that. That knowledge is invaluable. You cannot learn that in school. You learn that by practice, and that's a problem which most education systems have nowadays. It's too theoretical. They don't put the student out there in the world to actually understand how it works, right? So I would tell you, just start a business, get that practice in early on. You don't have to have a job. You just need to have that vision and be able to build it up, to be able to put it in your resume, or not even your resume, just use it as knowledge which you can use in the future. From 5 years from now, I would say just stick to your ideals, right? Like be sure to know what you stand for and understand how you can achieve what you want without bending the rules which you have set in place for you. Because if you lose those ideals, if you lose those morals and ethics which you have as a person, which we all decide on and which you decide on personally, right? Then you don't have anything, right? You're corruptible, and it'll lead you to a pitfall, right? Like it'll catch up to you. Karma is real. I truly believe in karma, and I think it's just a matter of understanding what you believe in, right? And staying true to it, no matter the situation.
Okay. Well, thank you for those answers, man. Really.
Of course.
I appreciate the conversation. So,
Of course, man. You got it.
Anything you want to plug, or you want
anything? Well,
where can we find you?
Let's say Instagram, App Store, Play Store, anywhere. Just Clubline. It's literally out everywhere. Just find us on Instagram. Find us on the App Store, on the Play Store. Give us a follow. Download the app. I'm sure you'll like it. If you have any criticism, literally send us an email, and everything. So I would say just load it. Just download it.
All right, we will. Thank you very much, Alberto.
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much for watching. That wraps it up for today's interview with Alberto De Lago, co-founder of Clubline. You heard him. Download their app, follow them on Instagram. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to give us a follow at eUPPING. We are on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. If you have any question, make sure to comment down below. This was Esteban at eUPPING, and please, until next time, take care. Bye, everybody.